Being a taxi driver is a pretty tough job, especially in this town. It doesn't help that my manager is an absolute gimp.
Now go out there and get me my money, ho.
Always making me work the night shift, so I get some absolute freaks in the back of my car.
The tunnel.
The tunnel?
Till I stutter. Make haste before I anger.
Okay.
Fuck!
What the fuck? Thankfully though, every night ends eventually, and nothing beats the feeling of coming back to the office and hanging up my keys and just walking out that door. What you just saw there was the prologue to a small indie horror game called Skin Freak. A game that I can't stop thinking about, but never want to open again. Not because it's a bad game, but because for the first time in a long time, I couldn't keep playing it due to being too scared. Which is crazy because I love horror games. Some of my favorite games of all time are horror games. So I thought I was pretty numb to them, but that might only be the case for the mainstream AAA ones. Which is why in this video, I wanted to shine a spooky spotlight on some cool indie horror games that I've branched out to and played this Halloween that freaked me out, and might even freak you out too. I mean, I'm not even joking when I say I played all of these games with one headphone off. Call me a pussy all you want, that they were scary. Before I get into them though, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. So the first one I want to talk about is a little game called Unspoken. And the best way I can describe it is the most accurate representation of playing a nightmare, if that makes sense. Like, I could not tell you what happens in this game. I have no idea what's going on. It is extremely surreal. It makes no sense, but the whole time I feel on edge, and it is horrific. It is the best representation of the fear of the unknown, because you're not told anything from the get-go. There's no build-up. You just wake up in a dark house and you just gotta look around. And as soon as you find a gun, this happens.
Warning, citizens. Police department is informing about increasing number of home invasions. To protect your property and family, it is necessary to keep the firearms near you.
Just letting you know through this footage, if you see this little text appear, that's what happens when you press the spacebar, and that is usually an indication of me absolutely shitting myself at a jump scare, so if you see that, then you know exactly how I'm reacting. The level design of Unspoken definitely plays into that nightmare feel I mentioned earlier, because it just doesn't make sense. It is surreal. Like, you find a lift and it just takes you to random places. It just doesn't make sense, which is not a bad thing, because I mean, I love The Evil Within, and that game was, well, that game's the king of not making any sense. Every single area you're put into is just equally as horrifying, and I really like how the game takes full advantage of the darkness, because instead of it being like, you know, a bit of a somewhat dimmed light that you can still see in, it goes all in on the darkness, and by that I mean you physically cannot see anything without a flashlight. And even with a flashlight, I mean, yeah, you still can't really see shit. And because of that, you constantly feel like you're being followed around every corner, and sometimes you are, especially this one section with this weird skinless creature that the developers liked having him be in the corner of your eye constantly, or move away when you turn around, letting you know he's always lurking behind you. And I still have no idea if he can kill you or not, because yeah, every time I saw him, I'd just shoot him, and I just wanted to fuck off. I hated him. He was a freaky ass fucker, and I want to get a restraining order on him. I also really like the visuals. I know it goes for like a retro look like a lot of indie horror games, and I know it's kind of become a meme at this point, but I think it works a lot better than going for like hyper realism, because with the low poly graphics you can't quite make out fully what you're looking at sometimes. Also, low poly graphics they're just kind of freaky as shit. Like even in non-horror games they still look eerie, so I completely understand why a lot of indie developers go for this style for horror games. And I think it's especially effective in Late Homework. Late Homework is a silly little horror game where you play as an anthropomorphic cat straight out of Animal Crossing called Hanako, and she's heading back to school because she left her assignment back there, and that assignment's due in the next day, and it's pretty integral to her passing this semester. It's literally in the name of the game. One of the first things that hit me whilst playing was the fact that this game has fixed camera angles and tank controls. Now, usually I'm not really a big fan of tank controls and fixed camera angles, you know, I'm not really one of those OG Resident Evil Silent Hill fans, but I think it works very well in this game, and that's because there's no combat whatsoever. See, I think my problem with fixed camera angles and tank controls in those games was the combat. It always just felt, well, it felt horrific, let's be real. But it works well for running away from a horrific monster because you're just not thinking straight in the moment, and because tank controls requires a bit of thinking to get used to, you're just fumbling around on the controller trying to adjust, trying to move the character, and then you move into a new area and the camera fucks around and it makes you move the opposite way, and you're just internally screaming the whole time. Yeah, it works well for a horror game. I understand why people want fixed camera angles and tank controls to come back. Especially fixed camera angles, because some of the shots in this game just ooze with atmosphere. I absolutely love how this game looks visually, and it's very obvious it was heavily inspired by Silent Hill, which is, you know, fair play. Artistically, the Silent Hill games look absolutely phenomenal, and they're also disgustingly horrifying, so yeah, it's a good choice. Something I find very interesting as well is you can actually go in first person, so you can get a good look at these areas and take a look at a room you're about to explore before the camera pans around in case there's like, I don't know, like a monster waiting for you. Because this is a horror game, getting into the school is just, well, it's not simple at all. The key to the school is in a vending machine for whatever reason, and you have to go through about like 10 different hoops, solving multiple different puzzles just to get a coin to get the key out of a vending machine, and you can finally enter the school, and that's when the game properly starts. See, once you get into the school, you get a map of it, and it's your first time getting a map, and you can see that it is just a big square with multiple different rooms you need to go into, and you also notice a little counter in the bottom right. That little counter is the assignment pages you need for the homework. So it's kind of like a Slender Man situation where you need to go around this little open area, finding each assignment page, and as you do, there is a horrific monster stalking the hallway, and as soon as it sees you, it makes a beeline straight for you, arms open, ready to bite your head off.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Well, it got me. And what makes this even more tense is the fact you only have 3 lives. Once those 3 lives are gone, you have to restart the entire school section all over again, which isn't a massively bad thing because it's not exactly a punishing game, I would say. It only really catches you out if you let your guard down, which, with the thick, ominous atmosphere, you will not be dropping that guard at any point. So the bulk of the puzzles are in the different rooms scattered around the hallways of the school, and within those rooms is usually an object that you need to find an item in another room to interact with to progress the game, allowing you to find more pages. The problem lies with the unpredictability of the monster lurking the halls, and whenever he's nearby, your screen starts to glitch out. So if you're in one of the rooms, you can actually hear him stomping outside of it, and you can see your screen begin to glitch out, telling you to not leave the room because, well, you know what will happen. Yeah, Late Homework is an incredibly tightly designed horror experience that I'm definitely going to be replaying to try and get those speedrunning achievements, which is an achievement you're always going to be wanting in a horror game, especially considering the fact there are outfits for Hanako, so there's quite a lot of incentive to go back and really memorize the game and put your skills to the test. One of the outfits is literally Cheryl from Silent Hill 3, so yeah, they did not make it subtle that they were inspired by Silent Hill. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you all have a great Halloween. If you're interested in buying either of these games, I'll put a link to the Steam pages in the description. They both go for less than £5, so yeah, they're pretty much steals, and they're great games to play during the spooky season. Now, you may be a bit confused and wondering, a game seems to be missing here. What was that one game that Leon shined his flashlight on earlier in the video? Well, I was originally going to talk about that. I have all the lines recorded ready to go, but I did not plan this video too well, and I want to get it out in October. I don't want to be one of those people who release a Halloween video in November, so I decided I'm going to edit that section separately and put it on my second channel, as it gives me an excuse to, you know, plug my second channel. A lot of people don't realize I have a second channel, so now you know. If you want to go check it out, if you want to look out for that video, then go subscribe to my second channel. I also post experimental videos there, a bunch of random thoughts on random games. Yeah, if you enjoyed what you watched today, make sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments any other indie games that you can't play with the lights off, or maybe there's no other indie games because maybe I'm just a massive pussy.